Now it's time to write our conclusion. And in this case, you might have learned in your language arts classes that your conclusion should provide something new or forward thinking, or it should be, it should extend the idea just a little bit further. The good news is that you do not have to do that for the SAT. They don't actually care about that. You generally just want to paraphrase your entire argument in different words. If you extend the idea a little further, that's great, right? You can also say something, you can also mention maybe a couple of other topics that you did not have a chance to address, but that were also important. That's also fine. So you can extend the idea a little further. That's okay. But you don't have to do it in a case like this. It should basically be 2 sentences. The first sentence should just reiterate the author's central argument, where you, again, remind the reader of this is what the central argument was. And the second sentence essentially paraphrases your thesis and says, here's how the author accomplished it. So the conclusion is basically you're telling them what you already told them, right? The introduction is, I'm going to tell you about what I'm going to tell you. Then the body paragraphs are you telling them what you want to tell them. And then the conclusion is saying, oh, here's what I just told you, right? That's the idea of a conclusion. And avoid using the same kind of phrasing that you do in your introduction. So specialized vocabulary shouldn't be changed. So if you use a specific literary term or ethos or pathos, you can maybe change that up. So instead of saying an appeal to ethos, you can just say that he appealed to his credibility. Or instead of saying appeal to pathos, you can say something like he appealed to the emotion of the audiences for fear or anger or hatred or whatever it is, or hope, that's a good thing too. And you want to make sure if you use a very specific word, you can keep that word. Like personification, it's very difficult to restate personification without making it very long. So that's okay, right? So you can use specific language. You can use, again, that's not a problem. Just make sure it's basically not just a repeat of your thesis, right? And if your sentence looks too similar due to the repeated vocabulary, change the structure of the sentence. If you only have like 3 very specific things you want to say, change the structure of the sentence. So put your thesis backwards using these 3. So if your thesis was he built his argument and successfully convinced the audience using this, you can make your paraphrase saying, by doing this, he successfully convinced his audience. So you kind of just flip the structure, and that's much easier for the reader to digest. And don't worry about the conclusion so much that you don't get a chance to finish your essay. It's better to have something down on the page rather than nothing. And if push comes to shove and you're running out of time, I say just write down something in conclusion or whatever. Just even a terrible conclusion is better than no conclusion. But focus mainly on your body paragraphs and your analysis, and you won't lose too many points if you don't have like the most eloquent conclusion that you come up with. So here, there's in one of the pages in your spiral book, you will see that there's an entire format that we have, a whole 7-step summary for what you need to be doing, and it basically summarizes this entire video series. But take a look through that, make sure you understand it, and keep that in mind as you move forward.